I really believe a lot of women have normalized feeling mentally exhausted by homemaking. You wake up already thinking about everything that needs to get done. You spend the entire day trying to keep up, mentally carrying this ongoing list in your head from morning until night, and then by the end of the day, you feel completely overstimulated and drained. And because this has become so quote unquote normal in motherhood culture, you probably just assume, well, this is just how life is going to feel now. But after years of homemaking myself and years of studying other women, I can confidently tell you that I do not believe homemaking was meant to constantly feel mentally heavy like that. I think what's happening is that many women are trying to create peace through pressure and control. And eventually that catches up with you because there is a huge difference between a home that is functioning through those supportive rhythms and then a home that is functioning through constant pressure. Welcome to the Modern Homemaker Mom podcast. I'm your host, Jynae Schmidt. If you found yourself here, it means that you're ready to break free from overwhelm, create a peaceful, well-run home, and finally live with more structure, margin, and stability. Here you'll find practical rhythms, real-life systems, and faith-filled encouragement you need to simplify your home and reclaim your time so that you can show up fully for the life God is calling you to. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the show. If you are new here, my name is Jynae and I love having these deeper conversations around homemaking, motherhood, rhythms, seasonal living, and learning how to build a home that actually supports your real life instead of constantly overwhelming you, and a home that is in alignment with that feminine design that God gave to us as women. Because honestly, homemaking goes so much deeper than cleaning schedules and productivity. So, to jump right into the episode today, one thing that I have seen over and over again is that women are constantly searching for the perfect routine because they think that the routine itself is finally going to make life feel peaceful and fulfill that craving of stability that they want. You tell yourself, if only you could just become more disciplined, more organized, a more consistent person, then maybe suddenly everything would stop feeling so overwhelming for you all the time. And honestly, I understand why women feel this way because structure does help you feel steady. When your home is flowing well and your routines are working well, there's something inside of you that feels like it can finally breathe because now life feels predictable. You know what needs to get done, you know what to expect, and things start feeling stable. But the issue here is that so many homemaking systems out there that women are trying to follow were never actually built around real life. They were built around these ideal or perfect conditions. And we all know that children are not predictable, babies are definitely not predictable, motherhood in general is not predictable, and life is just not predictable. And yet, women are constantly trying to force themselves into systems that only work when absolutely nothing goes wrong. You especially see this with really rigid time blocking, for example, where you see everything is perfectly scheduled, every hour planned out. Some people even go to the extreme where it's like 15-minute increments. There's every task assigned. And I will say I actually do teach time blocking inside of Modern Homemaker Method, but what we do is we approach it through a completely different lens, that being a seasonal approach to it, because Ecclesiastes 3 tells us that there is a time and a season for everything. And I believe that homemaking and motherhood were never meant to operate outside of that scripture. So instead of trying to force women into these rigid systems that leave absolutely no room for real life, no room for those unexpected moments, I teach women how to create a flexible structure. And that's a huge difference because structure itself is not actually the problem, whether we believe that or not. Women thrive with supportive structure. The problem is when the structure becomes so rigid that the second that life changes, the entire thing collapses and suddenly you feel like you failed. And what I've realized over the years is that women are often trying to solve symptoms instead of getting down to the root issue. You think to yourself, I need a better routine. That's a symptom. But usually the deeper issue is that the routine itself was never built around the woman herself, her real life, her actual capacity, her emotional state, her physical season, her feminine design, the way that God created women to function naturally. And that is the missing piece in so much modern homemaking advice that we see out there today. So this is why I talk so much about rhythms instead of these rigid routines, because a rhythm leaves room for life to breathe. And a rhythm says, this is the overall direction that we are moving. But it's also very understanding that some days are going to look completely different than others. And you know what? Homemaking and the seasons really do run hand in hand. That has been one of the deepest foundational beliefs behind everything I teach here on the show, in my program, because women were never designed to function with the exact same output every single day, although so much of society expects us to. When in all reality, your energy shifts, your emotions shift as a woman, your physical capacity is going to shift. Different seasons of motherhood require different things from you. But modern homemaking culture often completely ignores these things and instead teaches women to operate with constant productivity no matter what season they are in. And eventually, that catches up with you mentally, because women are not machines. You are not supposed to function at maximum output every single day while mentally carrying your home, your children, your marriage, your responsibilities, and everyone else's needs all at once without eventually feeling completely overloaded. And what I have found over and over again in my own life is that more is almost never the answer. More routines, more pressure, more productivity, more expectations, more lists. Usually that just leaves women feeling more overstimulated and mentally exhausted. So the only more that you're getting is more overwhelm. And this is why so many women feel trapped inside that cycle of overdoing things, and then because you overdid it, you then crash, and then because of the crash, oh my goodness, now we feel like we need to reset. And what happens is we just repeat that circle, not because we are incapable as women, but because we are trying to force ourselves into systems that were never designed around the way women actually function. And I realized this when I started reflecting on those massive to-do lists that so many of us mothers make for ourselves. And you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say it. The ones where you wake up in the morning and you're like, okay, today I am going to make a massive list of things to do, and I am going to get those things done. I'm going to get my life together. And trust me, I understand doing this because crossing things off a list feels incredibly satisfying. It makes you feel productive. It makes you feel accomplished. It gives you this sense that you're finally getting ahead. But what I will say is when I started noticing in my own life was that those super productive days often left me feeling completely depleted by the end of them. And what I felt instead of super satisfied was overstimulated, mentally exhausted, and emotionally totally tapped out, emotionally just totally done. And sometimes my husband or my daughter would get that leftover version of me on those days because I had spent the entire day aggressively trying to complete tasks. And I actually do remember having this realization one day where I thought to myself, this may technically look productive on paper, but it does not feel peaceful. Even though I'm getting stuff done and powering through just one huge productive day, I do not feel at peace at the end of that day. And that thought stayed with me because there is a massive difference between a home that looks productive and a home that feels life-giving to live inside of. Those are not always the same thing. And honestly, I think this is why so many women end up needing some sort of pressure release valve by the end of the day. And by that, I mean, I don't know, maybe you're scrolling on social media, or you're looking for a sweet treat in the pantry, or you're going on Amazon again and shopping online for something that you really didn't need, or you find yourself just mentally zoning out, staring at a wall, or, just something, whatever it is that you might do to finally relieve that mental load that you've been carrying all day long because you spent the entire day operating from a place that was coming from pressure instead of a place of support. And personally, I just do not believe that homemaking was meant to constantly feel like that. Now, one of the biggest shifts that you can make as a homemaker is moving from how do I control everything better to how do I support my home well in this season of our life. That's going to change everything for you, because suddenly homemaking becomes less about trying to perfectly manage every single moment of your day, and it becomes more about stewarding your day. You stop trying to force your life into systems that only work under those perfect conditions, and instead you start building rhythms that actually support the people living inside of the home, and that's including yourself, which is very important. And personally, I believe that the strongest homes are built when women stop fighting the way that God designed them to function. When you stop expecting yourself to operate with the same output during every season, and not expecting yourself to function like a machine, not expecting yourself to endlessly carry more and more and more without it actually affecting you mentally, but instead learning how to build rhythms around the homemaker herself. That's when things begin clicking on a whole deeper level. And you know what? This conversation is exactly why I created Modern Homemaker Method in the first place. Because after years of homemaking and years of observing other women, I became deeply passionate about helping women create rhythms that actually support real life and a woman's feminine design instead of constantly overwhelming you. The program is built around having those supportive rhythms that we talked about, a flexible structure, seasonal homemaking, and applying seasons to our homemaking, building your home around the season and capacity you are actually living in instead of constantly trying to force yourself into those unrealistic expectations. So if this episode really resonated with you and you are wanting more support in creating that kind of a peaceful, steady rhythm in your own home, I would absolutely love to walk through that with you inside the program. You can find the link directly in the show notes or head to jynaeschmid.com/modern homemaker method. We do also have payment plans available if that is something that would be helpful to you. But that is all for today, friend. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Truly, I am so grateful that you're here. And if you don't mind, if this episode has encouraged you or gave you words to something that you have been feeling lately or you can relate to, I would absolutely love if you could leave a written review for the podcast, because it truly helps support the show and it helps more women just like you find these conversations. So that's all for now. I'll talk to you again very soon in the next episode.